Hello everyone, today we are going to be reading some more Am I the A-hole stories from Reddit. Am I the a-hole for immediately leaving my husband's family Christmas when I saw that my husband's brother was there? So, a little backstory, at my husband's family Thanksgiving in 2017, his brother had tried to kiss me. Obviously, I stopped the interaction immediately and told my husband about the situation. His brother's not exactly in the right mind and has a criminal history with stalking and becoming obsessed or fixated on women. He started to send me creepy emails and texts a few months after Thanksgiving 2017. I shared all of this with my husband and said I did not feel comfortable being around his brother. Fast forward a couple years, the emails and texts stopped, but my husband had multiple conversations with him about how he was completely inappropriate, etc. In 2020, he lived alone in the same town as us and no other family members lived there. My husband didn't want him to be alone on Thanksgiving during the pandemic and asked if he could invite him over. I relented, but I had one rule: never leave me alone in a room with him. Fast forward to after dinner and some games, I put the kids to bed and went into the living room where my husband and his brother were. I sat down next to my husband on the couch. We have a large sectional. I was on the far end, my husband next to me, and brother-in-law was on the other end. I was just scrolling on my phone while they were talking. My husband got up and went into the kitchen right next to the living room and poured himself another beer when brother-in-law decided to hop over next to me on the couch and grab my boob. I screamed at him and yelled for my husband, who had already come running in. I started having a panic attack while my husband tried talking to his brother about what is wrong with him. After a few minutes, I texted my brother, who lived with us, about what happened and he came upstairs immediately, assessed the situation, and told brother-in-law to leave. Since this situation, the emails and texts that I started to receive from brother-in-law were very scary and vulgar. I have been receiving them on and off still into this year. My husband had informed his dad and sister of the entire situation, and they have never been supportive of us or our decision to remove brother-in-law from our lives. Every single year for any holiday plans his family wants to have, they make me out to be the unreasonable and unwilling to forgive, because neither myself nor my daughter will be in attendance if brother-in-law is invited. This has led to my husband and stepson attending family gatherings without us, or our family just not attending. Brother-in-law has also been told that he is not invited to a few gatherings so that we could all attend. At the few gatherings I've been to since 2020, there are always comments from multiple people, like my husband's aunt, father-in-law, etc., to me about forgiveness and bitterness. People will also say how they wish he, brother-in-law, was there. It makes me feel absolutely unwelcome and alienated. Mind you, I wanted to get a restraining order against him and file for sexual assault, but their family begged me not to, because he would go to prison due to his priors if I did. Since the incident in 2020, I know of 2 other women who he has creeped out and made uncomfortable. Unfortunately, we'll never know the true details as he always blames the women for whatever happens. I hate myself for not filing against him, as I'm sure it would have prevented these other women from dealing with him. This year for 4th of July and Thanksgiving, we were asked again if we could all just be under the same roof. My husband informed his family yet again that nothing will ever change and that I will never be in the same location as brother-in-law again. They needed to choose who they were going to invite. We did not end up going to the 4th of July gathering, but were invited to Thanksgiving. We didn't end up making the trip due to a blizzard coming through on that day, and we decided to turn back and go home due to the roads being unsafe. Husband's cousin decided to host a Christmas gathering on the 23rd. We were invited. I took the day off work, made some nice charcuterie boards to share, and we went. We walked in, set down the charcuterie boards. I saw that brother-in-law was there and whispered to my husband that I would be in the car. I left immediately. My husband came out after me and asked if I was okay and what he could do. I said, please just get our daughter so we can go. My husband went to go get our daughter and was stopped by our son, 18, who drove separately with his girlfriend, and his sister, who asked why we couldn't just stay and be in separate rooms. He told her no and sent our son to get his little sister for us. We left immediately. Of course, we were really hurt and upset, but I feel like our children were caught in the crossfire this time, and I absolutely hate that. My daughter had only just said hi to some of her cousins, then had to leave, and our oldest son and his girlfriend stayed and heard all the conversations about what everyone thought of how we handled it. The only person who reached out after we left was his cousin who was hosting. My husband sent texts to his dad and sister and was ignored. Am I breaking this family up and being completely unreasonable? I hope my daughter never has to go through something remotely similar to this, and I'm sick of having to rehash it multiple times a year. I don't think this is even a question. You are definitely not the a-hole. I don't blame you at all for never wanting to be in a room with him again. But to be honest with you, I'm kind of surprised that your husband is still going to events even if you're not going. I would imagine that your husband would probably be really upset that his brother sexually assaulted you and is continuously sending you vulgar text messages and emails. I would think that your husband should probably completely cut your brother-in-law off. Your husband should stick by you and not just make it a thing where you don't want to go to the events. And let's be honest, if this family is defending the brother that is a known sexual abuser to women multiple times, multiple different people, these are probably people that you don't want to spend time with anyways. It's not really about forgiveness, it's the fact that he's continuously sending these texts and these emails to you, so it's not like it's something that's just in the past. And I would definitely send these text messages and these emails, forward them, screenshot them, and send them to the rest of the family so that they understand this is ongoing and he's got some serious issues. Okay, let's read some comments. The first comment says, start forwarding all the emails and texts to the entire family. Let them see exactly what that piece of crap is doing, not the a-hole. Someone said, these people don't like you. They blatantly prefer a sexual abuser to you. You might as well have reported him for his assault on you and had him sent to prison where he belongs. It's not like you're welcome at these gatherings and wanted as it is. You might as well have a dangerous person put away for years. You are not being unreasonable. Your husband's family are being awful to you as a victim and showing your abuser that he can get away with whatever he wants and his family will always support him. And the OP responded to this comment saying, gathering evidence together to give to the police, the only piece I plan on keeping is my own. I hate myself for ever going against my own gut and morals for any of these people. I'm hoping at minimum I will be given a restraining order. And all I have to say is good for you for having the courage to do that. Someone also said that the OP should explain these things to their son and their daughter, and the OP responded and said, son does know the whole story, daughter had an age-appropriate version, but received a much deeper discussion after this event. She says she feels very differently about sister-in-law and father-in-law now. It is heartbreaking because they are the only cousins in our state, but I don't see how we can even be around any of them after this last incident. I hate that the children have to suffer too. Yeah, again, I'm sorry that you had to go through this. Hopefully things get better from here. Alright, that one was a little bit heavy. Let's get on to the next story. Am I the a-hole if I went to a hotel with my kids because of my mother-in-law's behavior with my daughter? My husband and I are currently at my in-laws' house in Houston for the holidays. We live in Atlanta, but are here for the holidays to see them. Just a bit of context so my reaction doesn't seem over the top. My mother-in-law always wanted a grandson. She used to say she was praying for one early in my pregnancy with my daughter. My husband and I didn't care, we just wanted our baby to be happy and healthy. After we had her, she kept pushing us to have another. My son is 4 months old and my daughter is 2 years old, and she is such a loving big sister to him. My mother-in-law's behavior to them is definitely partial, from the amount of Christmas presents she gave to the amount of time and love she gives. Now all these things are things that are her effort to distribute as she wishes, so I didn't say anything. But today, me and her were with my son while my husband was cuddling with my daughter on the couch as they have a really close bond and she's a real daddy's girl. My mother-in-law snapped at him and said to forget her for a bit and give his attention to my son who needs it. She said it in front of my daughter who suddenly went quiet and looked confused and hurt. My son had 2 adults with him. He didn't need my husband to turn his attention from my daughter at that time. I said as much, and she said we're spoiling her to the detriment of our son and that he needs it more and we need to impress upon our daughter boundaries. Again, all in front of her. I lost it. I took my son and my daughter and I went to my husband's room where we were staying. A few minutes later, my husband came up, apologized for his mom, hugged our daughter, and said, "Granny was having a bad day, but she loves you so much. Don't take it to heart, blah blah." I told him I'm seriously considering just booking a hotel for the rest of our time here until Saturday. He told me that would make things worse, that he'll talk to her and fix this, so he went downstairs again. But I'm still considering just going. Would that be an impulsive thing and a-hole-ish thing to do? Thanks. And there's an edit after he talked to the mother-in-law. He told me that he impressed upon her that what she did and said would distance us from her and told me that things will go smoother. He said that me leaving with the kids would make our daughter feel like she caused it, which wouldn't be right. I asked him what exactly she said. He said she understood what he was saying, but I asked him what she said, and he just seemed evasive. And I've read some comments. Honestly, I'd much rather go back to Atlanta than stay in Houston at a hotel. I'll have to check how that can be done. He was asking me to bring us all back down. I said I wasn't ready, but he has taken our daughter out with him to make her feel better. Alright, and we have an updated post on this, so let's read that next. Hi, I wanted to provide an update since some of you had asked. Honestly, I was avoiding it initially because I had gone against the advice given. My daughter and husband had come back last night with him showing her around the area. My daughter was happy and my husband said he had made it clear to his mom that the favoritism wouldn't stand, so I chose to stay. This morning, my mother-in-law was extra sweet to my daughter, showing her stuff around the house and kitchen. It seemed a bit fake syrupy sweetness to me, but I thought, okay, maybe I'm cynical. She's trying and my daughter can't tell, so it's all good. And the morning went fine. But after lunch, when we were in the living room, she was telling my daughter her, quote, responsibilities, unquote, as an older sister, that her brother is a baby and younger than her, and that she needs to now be a big girl and make sure he's happy. It maybe doesn't sound bad in words, but the tone was one of a lecture. So I just said, Jazzy is a baby too, and tickled her to make her laugh and just kind of put her at ease and diffuse the tension of the lecture. At this, my mother-in-law said she's just fulfilling her right and responsibility by educating my daughter, that she's her dad's mom, she's earned the right to educate her grandkids. Again, in front of her. That was it for me. Maybe in isolation it wouldn't have been, but considering yesterday I told my daughter we'll play with the toys in the room and took her and my son up. I called my husband and told him what happened. He kept asking how she said it and the setting, and I was just like, I planned to give her an honest chance this morning, otherwise I would have done all of this yesterday, and to trust me when I'm saying she crossed a line. I told him I'm changing our flights to catch the earliest one out. I need him to come with us, or he has to tell our daughter why daddy isn't coming back home with us. He said he'll come too and sort out the flight. I told him I just want the earliest one whenever it is and told him to come back, as he's out with his friends today. He told me later we fly out early tomorrow morning now. The last flight today was 2 hours from our call, so it wouldn't be enough time and he'll be here soon. I'm just packing our stuff up now. I went downstairs a few times to grab some of our stuff. She tried talking to me, telling me to calm down. I just told her he'll talk to her when he comes. I should have listened and just done this yesterday. I deserve any incoming criticism. I'm so angry with myself too. My daughter has had to be in an uncomfortable position twice rather than once because of that, and we could have celebrated New Year's Eve in Atlanta instead of here. Thank you all for the advice. I appreciate it so much. Final update. We're at the airport now, waiting for boarding. I thought I'd give my last update now since I'm going to be really tired back at home. When my husband spoke to her, I have to admit that I eavesdropped. I don't know if that makes me an a-hole, but it is what it is. It concerned my daughter, so I feel like it was okay for me to do it. And if it was super private, they shouldn't have been doing it in the living room. He was really disappointed with his mom, saying that they'd gone over this yesterday and that she'd given him her word to drop the favoritism. She denied any favoritism and said I was overreacting and just looked for an excuse to go. Never mind that if that were the case, I would have done this yesterday or 2 days ago now since it's past midnight. She also said if I was the one with the problem, why does everyone have to go? She came up to say goodbye to us before she went to sleep. To her credit, she didn't make a scene in front of my daughter and said her goodbyes to us. She was obviously cold with me, but I mean, that's to be expected. Thanks again for all the help and a happy 2026. Okay, again, I would say you are definitely not the a-hole here. You were more than patient and you gave a second chance as well. From the original post, there was definitely favoritism. I would find it really weird to say the older sibling now has to basically cater to the younger one and make sure that the younger sibling is happy. Like, yes, as the older sibling, you have to protect them, make sure that they're safe. There is a little bit of responsibility there. I mean, more of the responsibility lands on the parents to take care of them. It's not really your sibling's job to make sure you're happy. Not only is there favoritism, but she's also trying to tell you how to parent, which is never going to go over well. As a grandparent, you haven't really earned the responsibility to parent your grandkids. I'm sorry, your grandkids are going to be parented by their parents, and they're going to tell you how they want to parent, and if that doesn't fly with you, then you're probably going to lose your privilege. And it's so sad for the little girl too. Like, one moment she's chilling with her dad, and then all of a sudden grandma is just like, hey, you need to stop babying her and spoiling her, and you need to give all your attention to the grandson who already has the attention of 2 other people. No, he needs 3, and the girl has to have no attention, and she also needs to attend to the son. Like, bro, what? What are you talking about? I don't blame you at all. You're definitely not the a-hole. The mother-in-law definitely is. She's overstepping, showing favoritism, and she's completely out of line. The top comment on the updated post says, rooting for you. I think you've done great in a really difficult situation, and also I think you're a great mom. Another comment says, keep that lady away. If she will force misogyny on your child in front of you, she is capable of anything. Stuff like this will teach your daughter to accept abuse from a man, and it will mess your son up too. And last comment that we're going to read, you gave her a second chance, and she once again showed her true colors. Just make sure you don't give her a third one. Alright, let's get on to the next story. Am I the a-hole for wanting to ask my brother for his share of our father's funeral expenses 12 years later? I, 42 male, have one older brother by 2 years. Our father always struggled in life and was hard work for both of us. In 2013, at 62, Dad decided to move with a friend abroad to try and start fresh. Unfortunately, this didn't work out and Dad's mental health struggles continued. After a year of Dad being abroad, I convinced him to come back home where his family was. He agreed and booked a flight. On the day of the flight, Tuesday, I got a call from the airline that Dad was in the airport refusing to get on the plane. His friends were trying to get him on the plane, but he was refusing. I begged them to please strap him into his seat, and I will be at the airport at the other end to collect him. They said legally that they couldn't do this, and I understood. He didn't get on the plane, and his friends took him to the mental health hospital and left him there. 2 days later, on the Thursday, Dad had a stroke and became paralyzed on one side. I went into shock when I received this call. I was so distraught because I was so close to having him home. Now he was abroad, paralyzed, bedridden, and alone. I didn't have much money at the time, but what I had was just enough for emergency passport and the one-way ticket. I had to quit my job as I didn't know how long I would be gone. I arrived a week later with $40, but at least I was there with Dad. Dad helped me financially when I initially got there as I had no income. He had about $5,000 and was receiving welfare. I used $1,500 of Dad's money when I got there to buy a cheap, beat-up car so I could get around easily and not have to use public transport. I paid a debt Dad had of $1,200. Dad's money went on anything and everything he wanted to keep him comfortable. His cable TV was $80 a week. I would take him to the gift shop and he would buy books and DVDs, anything he wanted. I would take him down for a haircut and shave at the barber, anything to keep him comfortable. I also used his money for my necessities as I had nothing. I spent all day every day at the hospital with Dad as that was my reason for being there. After a month, I got a job as I was now there indefinitely for however long Dad needed me. I was planning to get a rental property and have Dad move in with me when he got better. I was resigned to the fact I lived in that country now and was happy to stay at Dad's side as he had no one else. I spent my time working at the hospital with Dad. It was exhausting, but I knew what I have to do for my parents. You take care of them when they're sick, and you do your best. During this time, my brother helped with nothing. He never called, he never showed any real concern for Dad at all. He called me twice with sob stories of how he needed some of Dad's money for this and that. At one point, I had saved enough money to pay for my brother's flight over. I begged him to come. I begged him. I told him he may never see Dad again, and that he didn't have to pay me back. I was happy for him to come and see Dad one last time. He didn't come. This broke my father's heart. I watched his heart break because he knew my brother, his son, didn't care for him. After a while, Dad had fallen into deep depression, and some days we wouldn't even talk, not for hours. We would just sit in silence. I never forced conversation on him. He wasn't getting worse, but he wasn't getting better. Then came the time I had to sign the DNR for Dad. I contemplated this for 2 days and I did not ask my brother's opinion. I felt he didn't get a say at this point. I chose DNR in the end as Dad had no quality of life left. Dad passed away 6 months after his stroke. I was sitting next to his bed and he suddenly turned yellow. I immediately knew his organs were shutting down and he was leaving. I immediately scooped him into my arms. I said my goodbyes and he left. I was so grateful to have this moment. He died in my arms, and that is rare. And I understood how special this was. Through his rough and tormenting life, he got to die in the arms of someone who loved him. On the day he died, my brother spent the day abusing me because I wouldn't give him any money. He went on for hours and hours. He threatened to pull all of my things onto the street. I had to get my mother to call the police to stop him. When Dad died in the evening, I tried to call my brother, but he wouldn't answer. I had to text him that he had died, and this day will forever be tarnished because of his huge tantrum. He tried to be very apologetic and act upset, but I gave up and forgot about him. I spent the evening with Dad's body, playing music for him and talking to him. I got my father cremated with the money I had left. I bought him a new suit for his casket. I paid for drinks and nibbles for the nurses who cared for him. I paid for my flight home, and I paid for Dad's things to be sent back home. I was more than happy to spend every last cent that I had for Dad. When I arrived back home, I got off the plane with my dad's ashes in my backpack and $140. My brother quilted me into giving him the $140. When I walked into my brother's house, I saw he had claimed all of Dad's furniture that had been in storage. Everything. He never once asked me if there was anything I might have wanted. I have the last set of clothes my dad wore, his passport, and that's it. I have resented my brother for this, and as the years have gone by, he has made quite a bit of money. He never once offered to pay for anything to do with Dad at all. He brags all the time about how much money he has. He literally sends me photos of his cash stacks. Sometimes I want to ask him for his contribution, and the urge is becoming greater. This will definitely cause problems, but it's the principle of it. He was completely selfish and horrible when Dad was sick, and I want some accountability from him in some form. I know it's petty over money, but I can't shake it after all these years. Reading this back, I probably need therapy. I think therapy would definitely be helpful, but at this point, you should probably have no contact with your brother. In this situation, you're definitely not the a-hole. Probably the best comment here says, given his past behavior, do you really think your brother is going to give you money 12 years after the fact? Of course he won't. He's the real a-hole here. On the other hand, you did all you possibly could for your dad, and your integrity is intact. Forget the money and never include your brother in your life again. Hopefully this person can find some peace and move on from the situation. Alright everyone, that's it for today. I hope you had a great time reading these stories with me, and I'll see you next time. Alright?